grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn. And another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mom loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood's thicker than the mud. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
What a bear. Still checking each other out. Hey, nobody wants to blow. Nobody wants to be left out. You can't leave cause your heart is there. But you can't stay cause you've been somewhere else. You can't cry cause you look broke down. But you're crying anyway cause you're all broke down. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair. Yeah, family affair.
Good evening. I'm Willis. This is News ULM. And we're blessed today to have in the studio, live and in color, an ensemble from Bowie State College, gospel choir, the prestigious Professor Latanya Wren. She's the director, and we have 5 lovely students from Bowie State. Tell us something about Bowie State's choir, but before we do, this is a wonderful university, the crown jewel of Prince George's County, historically black college in Bowie State, Maryland. Probably boasts of one of the 3 supercomputers in the entire world rest on that campus. Wow. Great synergy between Goddard Space Flight Center, has an excellent master's of computer and information technology. You should consider Bowie State University. Before we go on with more accolades, what's your name and why did you decide to go at Bowie State?
Hi, my name is Aja Hopkins, and the reason why I decided to go to Bowie State is I want to become a nurse when I get older, and I know Bowie has an excellent nursing program.
And it's great because we need more nurses. This show is sponsored in part by the Diabetes Awareness Project. Diabetes is called a silent killer. Why? Because its symptoms often go unnoticed. And this past week, I had an experience which makes me ever mindful of why I need to be concerned about my diabetes. I went to the physician to get a routine eye check for diabetic retinopathy. Diabetes is the #1 cause of blindness, glaucoma, amputation, stroke, kidney disease, and some more stuff. Didn't have diabetes retinopathy, but the technician filmed my right eye 5 times in a row, a light that I likened to being as bright as the sun. And 2 days later, for some reason, I couldn't see. I had massive headaches, and the nerve that controls my eyelid closed it. I can't open my eyelid. I can see, God bless, but I can't close my eyelid, and thus the shades. So something as simple. I'm 68 years old, God willing, at the end of this year. But I have to get on top of, so the diabetes can sneak up on you, and who would have thought that at the beginning of last week, I was fine and could look you right in the eye, and now I have to wear these shades, otherwise I'm looking like Dead-Eye Dick or Popeye or somebody. So it could have been a stroke. We have choir director. What do you like about this choir, and what's special? We have here the most recent CD, the Bowie State University Choir, the live experience. But I heard on the horizon, there's a new CD that you all are working on. Tell us about it.
Oh my goodness. Woo! The title of this particular CD is a live experience, but we're working on the next CD, which will be titled The Live Experience 2. So the live experience continues. So we will be continuing this live experience.
So where are you from, Professor?
Okay.
Where are you from originally?
Birmingham, Alabama.
I know y'all have a shouting good time down there, and some great
Oh,
singers
my
come out of
goodness.
Birmingham.
Ooh, yes.
Great spirit.
Yeah.
We're going to have a short video on the meaning of what is diabetes, and after the break, we're going to have an upbeat, up-tempo rendition from the Bowie State University Gospel Choir with Professor LaTanya Wren, director. Okay. Tell us something about some of your accomplishments. Where do some of your great voices and great students come from?
Some of my great students, they come from around the United States, mainly from Prince George's County area, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, and down south.
I know you noticed. I noticed that you said from around the United States. Bowie is now attracting students from all over.
Oh, yes.
Tell us where some of the students are from in your choir that you know
of. Recently, we've had somebody within the last year. They're from the islands, from the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah, that were in the choir as well. And like I said before, they're from PG County, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, St. Mary's County, and surrounding local down south. They're from the South, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and even from out on the West Coast, California.
Wow, so Bowie's starting to get a reputation.
Yes.
Brother Ron, can you switch over to these lovely young ladies over here? Can't do that at this point. Are we ready for the first video? Let's go to the first video that deals with Stand Up NAACP. We have Ben Jealous coming in later on during the show.
The oldest.
I am the baddest.
The boldest.
I am protecting our voting rights.
And our environment.
I am ending racial profiling.
And fighting HIV/AIDS.
I am advancing economic equality.
And equality.
For all.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am NAACP. Are you?
Take a stand at IamNAACP.org.
Today, get ready.
I am the largest.
The
It will be be 56 years in June.
30 years married.
Going to 9 years. We met in high school. I was in 11th grade and she was in 10th grade. And we met in SAT prep.
My mom was having a cookout, and he likes ribs, so she enticed him with her food.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, and he walked in the door, and that was it, you know.
Ribs, I mean.
We got married on his birthday. That was the best gift he ever had.
The Bowie State University Gospel Choir Ensemble.
Hear my humble cry.
Can we hear that one?
Yes.
Jesus is a rock in a weary land.
before we take a short break, and then the students can come back and tell us a little bit about why they attended Bowie State University.
Yes, one more song.
One more song before break.
Over and over.
Really appreciate that. That's good. And most of these students are from Prince George's County. We to be commended for the work. We're going to take a break. This is Black History Month. We're going to see a video on part of the history and mission of the NAACP. And when we come back, this is quality education. And when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit about the life and trials of the students in the gospel choir from Bowie State University.
Functioning black families. But we also have families that are being left behind and that have been left behind and would like to see their children be successful, but they can't provide what they need. The schools can compensate. You create a culture in the school that provides what many mainstream children receive at home and in their families and in the community.
The charter should be governed by the same quality indicators as public schools. Environment,
labor practices, due process, fiscal accountability, civil rights, and standards and assessments.
The schools that are meant to serve African Americans in the United States of America are not working. They have failed. They have failed because our children are the least likely to graduate. And when they do graduate, they're least likely to graduate from high school college ready.
It sounds like it's fair when we say that money will follow the child when they leave the public system and go to the charter school. That sounds fair. But when you find out that when that child is sent back for a variety of reasons, that money doesn't come back with them.
Traditional school districts experiencing enrollment loss due to charter expansion are at risk of a downward spiral of revenue loss.
We're concerned about the closures of charter schools. And who is most disparately impacted by that? The kids that look like me. Those are the ones who more often than not find themselves in the middle of the year with a school being closed down. Their public school has been decimated because of the funding going out of that school.
Unfortunately, in public schools, we can't send kids out in the middle of the year. We can't refuse to take kids that come in the middle of the year. We have to take everybody.
Now is just not the time to limit or discourage the growth of a model that is showing promising results. I will say the charter schools are not creating segregation. They're going to neighborhoods that are already segregated.
The reality is, the charter school, in my opinion, has become a vehicle for those whose agenda is to privatize public education, to resegregate America's schools.
The charter and the public schools today have to work together, whether we like it or not.
A bad school is our common enemy. A good school is a rallying cry for public school advocates. Let's commit to increasing the number of high-quality school options of all shapes and sizes, both charter and traditional public schools. Thank you.
Interrogations, because there were some problems there. We set up racial profiling laws to prevent the kind of bias in traffic stops that too many people experience. Since my first campaign, fine? You look fine. All right, everybody have a seat. I got some stuff to say. I've got some stuff to say. I love you back, you know that. So, see now, whenever people have like little signs, y'all got to write it bigger because I'm getting old now. And I like that picture of me. That's very nice. Thank you. Let's get something out of the way up front. I am not singing today. Not singing. Although I will say your board sang to me as I came in for the photograph. So I know there's some good voices in the auditorium. Let me also say what everybody knows but doesn't always want to say out loud. Y'all would rather have Michelle here. I understand. I don't blame you. But I will do my best to fill her shoes. And she sends everybody her love, and Malia and Sasha say hi as well. And I want to thank your chair, Rosalind Brock. I want to thank your president, Cornell Brooks. I want to thank your governor, Tom Wolf, who's doing outstanding work and was here. The mayor of Philadelphia, Michael Nutter, who's been a great friend and ally. Governor Dan Malloy of Connecticut, who's here today, and some outstanding members of Congress who are here. I want to just say thank you to all of you for your love, for your support, but most importantly for the work that you are doing in your communities all across the country every single day. It's not always received with a lot of fanfare. Sometimes it's lonely work, sometimes it's hard work, sometimes it's frustrating work. But it's necessary work. And it builds on a tradition of this organization that reshaped the nation. For 106 years, the NAACP has worked to close the gaps between the words of our founding, that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Those words, trying to match those with the realities that we live each and every day. In your first century, this organization stood up to lynching and Jim Crow and segregation, helped to shepherd a Civil Rights Act and a Voting Rights Act. I would not be here, and so many others would not be here without the NAACP.
That is a president that I miss. I miss Barack Obama. I think the world misses Barack Obama. He was a man of class, perhaps one of the greatest orators of the 21st and the 20th century, and a great role model for statesmanship, unlike some of the role models that are being given today. We're going to have two more selections by the Gospel Choir, this tremendous group. It has a CD that is out now, and they're working on a second CD, The Live Experience, the Bowie State University Gospel Choir with Professor LaTanya Wren.
Total praise.
Total praise. Thank you. That was a blessing. The Bowie State University Gospel Choir, whenever you get a chance, I want you to check them out. They're powerful, they're inspirational, and most of them are from right here in Prince George's County. They have a CD that's out, and they're working on another one. It's called The Live Experience. And they're working on Live Experience.
Live Experience
Continues, Part 2. Our next video presentation is going to be a short introductory piece on diabetes, and when we come back, we're going to talk with the students. I want to thank them again. Praise God. That was a wonderful, powerful piece to have them in the house. Felt like I went to church.
Diabetes is a disease that occurs when the amount of glucose or blood sugar gets too high. This is glucose, the main source of our body's energy, which comes mostly from the food we eat. Normally, insulin, a hormone made by the pancreas, helps glucose from our food get into our cells to be used for energy. But what happens if we can't produce enough insulin, or we produce none at all? Let's take a look at the pancreas, where insulin is made. With type 1 diabetes, our body's immune system destroys the cells in our pancreas, This means our body can no longer make insulin and we need to take it daily to live. In type 2 diabetes, either our body doesn't use insulin well or the pancreas makes some insulin, but not enough to carry sufficient glucose into our cells. Either way, we need to make up the difference by taking insulin or other diabetes medications to control our blood sugar. With either type of diabetes, glucose levels in our blood can get too high, which can lead to health problems, including heart, kidney, nerve, and eye diseases. Though diabetes is serious, it can be managed so it's less likely to cause health problems. For people with diabetes, check your average blood glucose level with an A1C test to determine whether that level is within your target range to reduce health problems. We also need to take our prescribed diabetes medicines, make healthy food and activity choices, manage our blood pressure and cholesterol, and quit smoking to help us live healthier lives. To learn more about diabetes and how you can delay or prevent health problems, visit www.niddk.nih.gov or call 1-800-860-8747.
Why is it important for all of us to know the risk factors for kidney disease? Hi, I'm Dr. Griffin Rogers, Director of the National Institute of Diabetes, Digestive, and Kidney Diseases at NIH. People of all ages and races can be affected by kidney disease, and African Americans, Hispanics, and American Indians have a greater risk for developing kidney failure. Early kidney disease usually has no symptoms and can lead to kidney failure. And the only way to find out if you have kidney disease is to get tested. So how do you know if you should get tested? You should get tested if you have any of these risk factors for kidney disease: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, or a family history of kidney failure. Talk to your family and friends about these risk factors. You could help them to prevent or delay kidney failure. For more information on kidney disease, follow us on Twitter at Healthy Moments. This is Dr. Griffin Rogers with the NIH. March is National Kidney Month, dedicated to helping others live healthier lives by sharing important information about kidney health. I'm Dr. Griffin Rogers, Director of the National Institute of Diabetes, Digestive, and Kidney Diseases at the National Institutes of Health. This March, all across the country, African American faith communities like yours are hosting Kidney Sunday events to raise awareness about the risk factors for kidney disease and the importance of taking action to keep your kidneys healthy. Today, you'll get important information about kidney health, and if you have diabetes or high blood pressure, I encourage you to take action. Learn about the links between these conditions and kidney disease and get your kidneys checked. Please share this information with loved ones, and if they have diabetes or high blood pressure, encourage them to get checked too. I want to thank our partners for the Kidney Sunday, the Chi Eta Phi Nursing Sorority, and the community organizers who brought this important program to you. NIDDK supports a wide range of medical research through grants to universities and research institutions nationwide, including scientists who conduct research on kidney disease on a wide range of topics. This research is key to finding new ways to improve the health of kidneys in people with kidney disease. To learn more, I encourage you to visit our website at niddk.nih.gov, and thank you for listening. March is National Kidney Month, a good time to learn about your kidneys. Hi, I'm Dr. Griffin Rogers, Director of the National Institute of Diabetes, Digestive, and Kidney Diseases at NIH. You have two kidneys, each about the size of your fist. Their main job is to filter waste and extra water out of your blood. With kidney disease, your kidneys can't filter blood like they should. This can cause waste to build up in your body and other health problems. Kidney disease may affect 1 in 3 African Americans. In the early stages, there are often no symptoms and people don't know they have it. Kidney disease can get worse over time and may lead to kidney failure, which requires dialysis or kidney transplant. What can you do? Well, you should talk to your doctor about getting tested, especially if you have high blood pressure or diabetes, and encourage your family and friends to do so too. Follow us on Twitter at Healthy Moments. This is Dr. Griffin Rogers.
Those are messages about diabetes. Diabetes is a silent killer. About 78 million people suffer from diabetes, just at this table alone. Anybody know anybody with diabetes? And out there in the audience, we have 4 friends. And I didn't know you before you came in here, right? And this is the first time I've met you in person. If you go into a black room with a room full of black people, 80% of the people in there either got diabetes or know somebody who has diabetes. So this is a powerful disease that's going through the community. These glasses, the reasons I'm wearing them is probably due to diabetes. So got to get educated, got to get vigilant. And we're coming up with a break. And after we come up with a break, we're going to talk with the students from Bowie State University and find out why they chose the crown jewel of Prince George's County as their educational choice. Heard the miraculous voices of the Bowie State Gospel Choir with its director, Professor Latanya Wren. And we have some of those in an ensemble that have come to the studio to entertain us. I asked the question of folk on the set, how many of y'all know somebody with diabetes? Raise your hand. There are some people looking at me. 4 students, 4 brilliant, beautiful students from Bowie State University. The camera's going to shine on them. How many of y'all out there know somebody with diabetes? Okay, and that's important to know because randomly, I didn't know you before you came in. Give us your name and tell us why you decided to go to Bowie State University.
Asia Blackman.
Asia Blackman, and your name is?
Rika Blackman.
Y'all any kids?
No.
No.
Just roll of the dice. Asia, who do you know in your family who has diabetes?
Well, a lot of my family members.
Really?
I can't really say offhand because it's a lot of them. So, yeah.
And Rika?
Actually, my mom had diabetes, and I say had because she went in and she had diabetes, but she worked her way off of losing weight and eating right.
Oh,
so now she doesn't have diabetes.
Praise God, because they say diabetes can be the reverse if you eat right and do exercise. What are you majoring in at Bowie State University? Where are you from? Where did you go to high school? And why did you decide to attend the Crown Jewel?
Well,
Prince George's County.
I went to Largo High School.
Don't hold that against her. Other school. Let's keep going. There gonna be no fights up in here.
Actually, while I was in high school, I was in the gospel choir under the director of Brandon Felder. And then I went to Bowie because they have a good education program. I majored in early childhood special education.
Praise God, we need that because so many people want to go into technology, but who's going to take care of our babies? Who's going to train our children to be nurtured? So we need that. And Bowie State University has a good early childhood development curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, what's your ultimate goal, career?
My ultimate goal is to own businesses for kids with special needs around the world.
I love that. She's not only going into a profession, she's going to own her own business. Black folk need to be entrepreneurs. And when you own your own business, you hire yourself, nobody can find you. Of course, you can only look to yourself for a paycheck, so you got to hustle. Rika, what are you majoring in? Where did you come from? What's your high school? And why did you decide to go to Bowie State University?
My high school I went to is Lower High School. I am from Forestville, Maryland, and my major is business administration with a concentration in entrepreneurship.
Wow.
I decided to go to Bowie because I wanted to own my own business as well.
Wow.
I actually work for PG County Public School System as a director for before and after care, so I actually want to open my own child care center as well.
Praise God. Praise God. We got folk who are business people in mind. Now, are these other folk mic'd, Ron? Can they talk? Or are you going to pass the microphone? And this is the lone wolf, the lone brother in here, holding up the tenor section. What's your name? Go ahead.
So my name is Bernard Blackman. I attended Largo High School.
Okay.
Woo!
Yes. And why did you decide to attend Bowie State University?
Well, I came to Bowie State because they had a good business program. I knew that I wanted to join the choir and I wanted to join the jazz band that they have on campus.
Okay. Do you play a musical instrument?
Oh, yes, I play the drum set.
Go ahead. Percussionist up in the house. Go ahead. Who's your favorite percussionist?
My favorite percussionist is actually from the DMV area. His name is Aaron Spears.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Dominique Austin.
Okay. Anybody on the professional ranks? Any drummers that you're leaning towards?
Professional, probably like C.J. Thompson.
Okay. Okay. And you, young lady, are you the secretary of the Bowie State Choir?
Yes,
What's
I
your
am.
name?
Monique Johnson.
Where you from, Monique?
I'm from District Heights, Maryland. So
District Heights.
Yes,
What high school did you attend?
Crossland High School.
Okay.
Class of 09.
Okay. Question: why did you decide to attend Bowie State University?
Well, I decided to attend Bowie State University, number one, for its English program, getting my master's in English. So I definitely want to go into teaching someday, and then also work with maybe children within like a theater company or something.
So do you like writing?
Oh, yes, I love to write.
So you're an English person and you're a wordsmith.
Yes.
I'm a journalist, and I like people who like words, who play with words. I need some writers, so we need to talk after the show.
Okay.
Okay. Tell us, what is it about the choir that you like? Camaraderie, the whole family, notion of family.
It definitely would be the notion of family. Definitely. It's like a home away from home, in a sense. I could look forward to every Monday night, every rehearsal, seeing everybody. So I just love it. That makes my day, and actually my week a lot of times.
How many of y'all got strong in the choir? How many voices?
I guess everybody. Yeah.
Because I make sure that they can hold their own.
I know, but how many voices when the full choir is?
30, 35.
Okay, that's a good, strong sound. And where have you all performed, and where are you looking to perform in the future?
We're actually getting ready to go to Las Vegas, Nevada, to perform at the Gospel. Las Vegas in March, at the Gospel Music Workshop of America board meeting. So we're performing for college night for that.
Wow, what night is that?
That's on a Wednesday night.
Okay, how much are tickets?
The tickets out there, well, I think you have to be a member, so I think that they may be like $10, $15.
No. I mean the ticket to get on the plane to Las Vegas. That sounds like
about
trip.
$400 round trip.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. And how many days are you all staying?
We'll be out there for about 5 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's March when?
March 19th to the 24th.
That sounds worthy of perhaps sending a journalist out there to cover this event. Let me ask you all something. The sound that you heard before we came up was from this gospel CD, and Brother Ron has this in rotation. Of course, no royalties coming out of it, but we are using it, and I think 2 shows are using. This is I got it upside down. I'm so sorry. What was the inspiration behind this gospel CD?
My goodness! The creative aspect of it was I brought together friends of mine that were writers on this album, and we came together for just a mixture of contemporary, traditional gospel music that people would be able to use and be able to sing in their choirs and be able to use in their churches and workshops to be able for many years to come.
But it sounds professional and it sounds so full. It sounds like way more than 30 voices around here. It sounds like 70 or 80.
Okay.
What accounts for the fullness and the projection of sound quality of your kids, your students who are singing in this choir?
Oh my goodness! Well, Philip Carter produced the project. He's a Bowie State University alumnus. He's also a gospel producer, major gospel. He's a gospel musician and everything. I was executive producer, so me and him came together.
Bolts and nuts.
Yeah, he put some bolts and nuts. We went into the studio. We also, did overdubs and all of that to kind of make it a lot fuller, because the live version, there's a live version, a live DVD actually, and everything like that.
We need to bring that. I need to download that and play that in some of my transitional pieces. For the show, and we're going to be producing a pilot in the next.
That's
being
weeks. Edited. So
and I'm taking and asking you all to participate. And I'd like to take it upon myself, because everybody in here knows somebody with diabetes. Diabetes Awareness Project has a program called Test a Million, and its goal is to test 1 million black folk for diabetes. We don't discriminate against white people, but it's black people that are disproportionately impacted by diabetes. So I'm making everybody in here, I'm drafting you all to become diabetes ambassadors. There's certain perks that go along with that, but there are also certain responsibilities. And every time you get an opportunity, we want you all to caution people. One of the precursors of diabetes is high blood pressure or hypertension. We know that hypertension runs rampant in the black community. Anybody in this camp, anybody know any black person who has high blood pressure or hypertension? I got it. And most people sitting on the other side of this camera know somebody who has it. So if you know somebody with high blood pressure and diabetes are the #1 causes of heart attack, stroke, glaucoma, amputation, kidney disease, nerve damage, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Your name again, and why did you decide to go to Bowie?
Hi, my name is Aja Hopkins, and the reason why I decided to come to Bowie is I know that they have an excellent nursing program, and I want to become a nurse when I get older.
Okay, and again, nursing is one of the allied health professions, and we want to solicit. I want you to introduce me to your dean or director of nursing. We have a strategic partnership with Bowie, not Bowie, but Morgan State University. They have helped us in Annapolis and a number of our health fairs to administer blood pressure screenings as well as testing people for blood sugar, mainline, baseline testing. We were at a ministerial conference with 400 black ministers about 3 years ago up in Baltimore, and 80 of them had diabetes and did not know what diabetes is. Often called a silent killer because its symptoms go unnoticed. So we want to thank the Bowie State University Gospel Ensemble. 35, 40 strong. Couldn't get all of you all up in here today, but we really appreciate you coming. We're going to have another music break, and on the backside, we hope to have Ben Jealous. If not, we're going to have another video on diabetes. And a lot of people are having problems with flu. A lot of people have not been vaccinated. Flu has killed almost 80 people, a lot of young folk. If you have not gotten your vaccinations, please get a flu vaccinations. We're going on break. This is Rod Willis with News ULM and the Bowie State University Gospel Ensemble.
Girl, what's wrong? Girl, I just went to a major dealership and got ripped off on a luxury car. Ugh.
Well, I just got a great deal on a luxury car at Star Imports in Camp Springs, Maryland. They took their time with me, treated me with respect, and helped me find a perfect car.
Hey, DMV, looking for a unique car buying experience? Tired of high-pressure sales? Good news. At Star Imports, you'll be delighted with our boutique-style car buying experience. We're committed to treating you with the utmost respect, even if you have less than perfect credit. Check out our impressive selection of pre-owned BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, Jaguars, and other imports starting at $5,988. For fast online guaranteed credit approvals, go to starimports.com. That's STARRIMPORTS.com. Or call 301-423-8000. Star Imports, home of the boutique-style car buying experience. Located in Camp Springs, Maryland, off exit 7B off the Beltway, next to Red Lobster.
Just heard from our candidate for gubernatorial candidate Ben Jealous. He's en route earlier, 4 or 5 years ago, he was at the NAACP Image Awards. We have a short video of him and his presentations there, what comments he made.
NAACP live webcast, and you know what? This is the epitome of NAACP right here, Vic. So let me just let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Ben Jealous, President and CEO of the NAACP.
So Ben, quick question.
Yeah.
What does Celebrate Diversity mean for you?
What it means is that we had the Oscars last week, and we all saw that, right? You know, and now we have this show this week to remind the country that there is beauty and brilliance in people of all colors, and yet we still don't see it on the small screen or the big screen the way that we should.
Ben, quick question. Who are some of the people that you just want to win tonight? Or if you could, you probably want everybody to win tonight. Who are some of the people that stand out to you?
As the folks who host the show, I want each nominee to win. But, you know, I feel like a small kid when I see General Powell. He is the one who made the world know that a black man could be president. That was reasonable for Obama to aspire. Because we all knew General Powell would be president, and he decided that he didn't want the job. And that's how history will be recorded, as the man who paved the way. I'm also inspired to have General Benjamin here, our Surgeon General. His story really inspires me to service. It really shows the possibilities that there are for each of us when we decide just to make our neighborhood better and our state better, and now our future. And I'm glad that, you know, that there's a whole range of people, from Halle Berry, you know, just straight up front. So it's going to be a great night. It's going to be a great series.
Thank you so much for being a part of such a huge organization that's doing so much for our community.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
I want to thank Peggy for that piece on Ben Jealous. Oh, how I miss Barack Obama. A lot of white folks are not saying it, but they miss him too. And I know everybody here misses him. He was a great president, and then, as I indicated, perhaps one of the greatest warriors and wordsmith orators of our times, and most certainly a great statesman. Here's what Barack Obama had to say a couple of years back at the NAACP National Conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
In your second century, we've worked together to give more of our children a shot at a quality education, to help more families rise up out of poverty, to protect future generations from environmental damage, to create fair housing, to help more workers find the purpose of a good job. And together we've made real progress, including a My Brother's Keeper initiative to give more young people a fair shot in life, including the passage of a law that declares health care is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all of us. We made progress, but our work is not done. By just about every measure, the life chances for black and Hispanic youth still lag far behind those of their white peers. Our kids, America's children, so often are isolated, without hope, less likely to graduate from high school, less likely to earn a college degree, less likely to be employed, less likely to have health insurance, less likely to own a home. And part of this is a legacy of hundreds of years of slavery and segregation and structural inequalities that compounded over generations. It did not happen by accident. Partly it's the result of continuing, is sometimes more subtle, bigotry. Whether in who gets called back for a job interview, or who gets suspended from school, or what neighborhood you're able to rent an apartment in, which, by the way, is why our recent initiative to strengthen the awareness and effectiveness of fair housing laws is so important. So we can't be satisfied, are not satisfied, until the opportunity gap is closed for everybody in America. Everybody. But today I want to focus on one aspect of American life that remains particularly skewed by race and by wealth, a source of inequity that has ripple effects on families and on communities and ultimately on our nation. And that is our criminal justice system. Now, this is not a new topic. I know sometimes folks discover these things like they just happen. There's a long history of inequity in the criminal justice system in America. When I was in the state legislature in Illinois, we worked to make sure that we had videotaping of interrogations because there were some problems there. We set up racial profiling laws to prevent the kind of bias in traffic stops that too many people experience. Since my first campaign, I've talked about how in too many cases our criminal justice system ends up being a pipeline from underfunded, inadequate schools to overcrowded jails. What has changed, though, is that in recent years, the eyes of more Americans have been opened to this truth. Partly because of cameras, partly because of tragedy, partly because the statistics cannot be ignored. We can't close our eyes anymore. And the good news, and this is truly good news, is that good people of all political persuasions are starting to think we need to do something about this. So let's look at the statistics. The United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. Think about that. Our incarceration rate is 4 times higher than China's. We keep more people behind bars than the top 35 European countries combined. And it hasn't always been the case, this huge explosion in incarceration rates. In 1980, there were 500,000 people behind bars in America. 500,000 people in 1980. I was in college in 1980. Many of you were not born in 1980. That's okay. I remember 1980. 500,000. Today, there are 2.2 million. It has quadrupled since 1980. Our prison population has doubled in the last 2 decades alone. Now, we need to be honest. There are a lot of folks who belong in prison. If we're gonna deal with this problem and the inequities involved, then we also have to speak honestly. There are some folks who need to be in jail. They may have had terrible things happen to them in their lives. We hold out the hope for redemption, but they've done some bad things. Murderers, predators, rapists, gang leaders, drug kingpins. We need some of those folks behind bars. Our communities are safer thanks to brave police officers and hardworking prosecutors who put those violent criminals in jail. And the studies show that up to a certain point, tougher prosecutors and stiffer sentences for these violent offenders contributed to the decline in violent crime over the last few decades. Although the science also indicates that you get a point of diminishing returns. But it is important for us to recognize that violence in our communities is serious, and that historically, in fact, the African American community oftentimes was under-policed rather than over-policed. Folks were very interested in containing the African American community so it couldn't leave segregated areas, but within those areas, there wasn't enough police presence. But here's the thing. Over the last few decades, we've also locked up more and more nonviolent drug offenders than ever before for longer than ever before. And that is the real reason our prison population is so high. In far too many cases, the punishment simply does not fit the crime. If you're a low-level drug dealer or you violate your parole, you owe some debt to society. You have to be held accountable and make amends. But you don't owe 20 years. You don't owe a life sentence.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Jealous has walked in the house. Brother Ben.
It's good to be here.
I heard you were en route. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Why do you want to be governor of the state of Maryland?
You know, it goes back to a lot of what President Obama and I worked on his first administration. We've got to get to a place where just being great is enough. And that means opening the gates of opportunity in our state. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that everybody in our state has health care. And in these days of health care being the #1 cause of personal bankruptcy in Maryland.
Really?
Yeah, and our health care #1 cause. Lots of families, you know, their deductible can be $14,000 when it's all done, right? We need to make sure that all of our kids get a great education. This governor in the last 3 years under his leadership, we've underfunded K through 12 public schools by $6 billion. We're balancing the state budget on the backs of the kids, and really what that comes down to, frankly, is not
even with the maintenance of effort statutes that are in, he's underfunded it by that much.
Yeah, $2 billion a year, $6 billion over 3 years, and when you fully fund your schools, then you're able to have universal pre-K, but you're also able to make sure that the kids who aren't headed to college also come out of high school ready for a career. And that's most of the kids coming out of our high schools. And and then finally, we need to put our state government on the side squarely of our small business owners and our young people who aspire to be entrepreneurs. And we've got this mess, and you see it with the student debt. Student debt in Maryland is out of control, as it is across our country. And as that student debt crisis has mounted over the last 30, 40 years, what you've seen is that every decade, fewer young people are starting new businesses than the decade before, because the student debt gets higher and higher. And so, and at the same time, what's driving that is our state and our country's addiction to incarceration. As the states have spent more money on incarceration, they've invested less money in public higher education. That's driven tuition up. It's driven debt up, default rates up, and it's driven new business starts by young people down. Fundamentally, I'm running for governor to get us back to moving forward again, to get our priorities straight. We're stuck right now, and we could be moving forward at a much faster pace.
What distinguishes your candidacy from some of the other also-rans who are part of the traditional democratic machinery?
Yeah, what's different is that frankly, I'm Mamie Todd's grandson, and my grandma was a social worker here in Maryland for 30 years, really? And she taught me very clearly, you can't half solve a problem. And so you won't see me on these big issues putting forth little solutions to kind of nibble around the edges. I'm the only candidate who's put out a plan to make sure that everybody in Maryland has real health care.
Which is?
It's called MD Care, and it's a strategy that starts with us pulling all the stakeholders together and designing a system that works better for all of us and covers everybody.
Okay.
Right now, our small businesses are getting choked by insurance costs that just go up every year, and our families too. You know, I met a woman I was at the Beltway barbecue battle this summer.
Okay.
And an 80-year-old sister shook my hand and she said, "Brother Jealous, nice to meet you. I am a member of the working poor." She said, "I'm 80 years old, and I just went back into the workforce because my pharmaceutical bills were too high." She said, "Now I take care of a 96-year-old man when I should be enjoying my golden years. I'm here working again." And what we know is that the only way to cut those pharmaceutical costs is for states or localities to negotiate. And for that, you've got to become the main insurer. And so that's what I've put forward. On education, same thing. Everybody wants to increase funding for education. Great. The threshold should be fully funding education. And when you talk to the state budget experts, they say, oh, the money's there. We just don't have politicians who are courageous enough to make the tough decisions that you need to make to fully fund our schools. Because it means, that we'll have to actually put first things first, fully fund education, and maybe we won't have dollars for something else. But when you underfund education, you short-circuit those kids today and our economy tomorrow. And finally, I think what's different about me, quite frankly, is my campaign is funded by people. 99% of our donations come from individuals.
Okay.
We don't just have more small dollar donations of under $250 than any other campaign. We have more than all of the campaigns put together.
Wow.
Typically, gubernatorial campaigns in Maryland, about 40% of those donations are so-called corporate donations that come from companies. And as one prominent business leader said a couple of years ago, in Maryland, I write those checks to buy access. Well, that's not how we're running this campaign.
That's interesting. We have in our audience 4 students on the other side of this camera, 2 of which indicated that they wanted to start their own business. Why, especially in Black History Month, is it important for us to nurture and encourage a new generation of entrepreneurs in the Black community?
Well, because they're the ones who will lead the way for the rest of us. I am proud to be a partner in an investment company called Capor Capital. I run the Baltimore office of a Silicon Valley-based investment firm. 68% of the companies that we have invested in since I've been there have a Black, Latino, or female founder.
Praise God.
Our fastest growing company has a Black, Latina founder. She's all of the above.
Okay.
Wow. And what it affirms is that there are great ideas in every community, in every zip code. And the real crisis is getting the capital behind those ideas. For these young people growing up now, their careers are not going to be in a factory, let alone in one job for 30, 40 years.
That's right.
And if they find their way to creating wealth, it's going to be because they created that business.
Yes.
And so as we look at actually continuing the work of our forefathers, of our foremothers, to create a more equitable society, we have to remember that entrepreneurialism has always been fundamental to the Black freedom struggle, to the struggle for equality in our country.
Well, listen, some pretty insane remedies for reduction of gun violence have come out of 1600 Pennsylvania. One, i.e., is to arm...
Right now, pretty insane is synonymous with 1600 Pennsylvania.
Yes, but to arm teachers and to... what is the answer? I know there's no one silver bullet, for lack of a better word. What are some of the remedies you're proposing for getting these guns off the street, especially the assault rifles?
Getting guns off the street actually requires getting guns off the street. It doesn't mean putting more guns in our schools. Our teachers' jobs are so hard that insisting that they also be an expert marksman is ridiculous. What we need to be doing is fully funding our schools and, frankly, raising teaching to be a first-class profession. not requiring them to be sheriff too.
I
So
agree.
what we need to do as far as guns, we need to pass a red flag law so that it's easier to get guns out of the hands of people like the one who killed the officer the other day, who signaled that they're likely to be a harm to themselves or to others. We had an officer who was killed by a man who was abusive towards his wife. His wife was afraid. The officer was trying to help her move out, and he came and killed the officer. So we need a red flag law. 2, we need an assault weapons ban, a complete one.
I agree.
Weapons of war have no place on our streets. We had a young person in Montgomery County the other day. He brought a fully loaded gun to school. They went back to his house. There was an AR-15. There was a landmine detonator. There were multiple grenades. There's no way that a young person should be able to get their hands on weapons of war, let alone that many of them.
But Ben, where are the statesmen that are unafraid to speak truth to power and stand up to the gun lobbyists and say, this cannot happen? We find this in the Republican Party and, unfortunately, in some members of the Democratic Party.
No, look, it's exactly right. And quite frankly, you even see them taking money from the bail lobby, you know, which just frankly sells poor people down the river, you know, for a few pieces of silver. You know, I don't know. What I do know is that if somebody's been a community organizer their entire life, and even an investigative reporter when I was young, I learned early in my career that you shouldn't fear any man more than you fear God himself. You know, and when that happens in your life, and I'll tell you when it happened to me. I was investigating a sheriff accused of corruption in Mississippi, and he was accused of framing a black farmer of arson. And I started to put the pieces together that would ultimately be used by the defense lawyer to acquit that farmer. And in the process, I started getting death threats. And the death threats got very specific. And my newspaper had been burned down 3 times. It would be burned down a 4th time in 1998. This is the Jackson Advocate newspaper in Jackson, Mississippi. The reporter who had the beat before me was had been raped by the officers she was investigating. So we knew that our work was frontline journalism. It was high-stakes work. And I came to my publisher one morning and I said, look, these death threats are getting mighty specific. I think I might just cover the rest of the story from my desk. And he said, son, do you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, that feeling comes from someplace. I'm here to testify it comes from God. So my question to you is quite simple. Who do you fear more, them fools or God himself? And I haven't looked over my shoulder since.
I like that.
Wow.
If people want to support your campaign with $5, $10, $15, $20, who would they call? What would that number and website be? And tell us how we can get in touch with you and support. Got my vote, man.
Oh,
I
thank
like
you,
what
brother.
you're saying.
Thank you.
And this is very important. How can they get in touch with your campaign?
Sign up at benjealous.com, benjealous.com. We need your time, we need your talent, and we need your treasure. This is a people-funded campaign. And if you volunteer, if you give whatever you can give, we can get it done.
The students from Bowie State University have asked me humbly if they could take a picture with you before they leave. Would love to.
that.
We got, what, 2 more minutes, Ron? How much more time we got? If there's a 0 time, want to thank you so much for coming.
Appreciate you.
He gave you the information. If you want to support this candidacy and you are attuned to the issues that are so important to him and the rest of the people in Maryland, Ben Jealous is the candidate you need to support. Thank you for joining our show. This is Rod Willis with News ULM. Thanks to Professor LaTanya Wren from Bowie State University. And thank you so much for the students, the lovely voices, and the lone tenor, the lone wolf over there who was holding up the rear, a brother, a thorn between several flowers. Thank you so much for coming. This is Rod Willis reporting for News ULM. Peace.
still checking each other out. Hey, nobody wants to blow. Nobody wants to be left out. You can't leave cause your heart is there. But you can't stay cause you've been somewhere else. You can't cry cause you look broke down. But you're crying anyway cause you're all broke down. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Oh, yeah, a family affair.
drop it low then. Drop it low. Your birthday, do it for your birthday. Let me thank all the stars for coming out tonight, yo. Each and every Thursday, and this where we play. Doing it for the desperate housewives. You know what I mean? Yes,